I'm here in New York City this week, which is famous for a couple things. It's the financial capital of the U.S. You could argue it's the capital for live theater, but unfortunately, it's also the capital of scams. There seems to be a scam going on every marketplace. And in today's video, I want to share with you a scam that's not isolated to here, but it could happen to any of us, any place, at any time. And it has to do with online marketplaces such as Facebook Marketplace. And recently I heard a story about a woman losing $14,000 on Facebook Marketplace. And I'm going to wrap up the video with that story, but first I want to tell you the more broad type of scams that are taking place. Let's go for a walk and talk about it. So the first thing that's happening is, people list things for sale on Facebook Marketplace and other locations like that. And what scammers are doing is they're reaching out fairly soon after it's posted. They're asking if the item's still for sale. They're saying they could pick it up today, and they're asking for a couple things. They're asking for your email address and or your phone number. And the funny thing about this scam, there's not many funny things, but they say that they want this information to make sure that you're not scamming them. And so they'll say, I want to verify that you are who you say that you are. So I want your phone number, I want your email. And that's where it begins, because if you give them your email, what they're going to do is they're going to say they're going to pay you by Zelle or by Venmo. And then the scammers actually send you an email that looks like it's from Zelle or Venmo. And they say that the amount you've received, and they know the amount. Let's say you're selling something for $199. The amount you're receiving is too close to the $200 limit or whatever it is, so that they can get you to click on a link to quote unquote upgrade your account and be able to accept the amount from that scammer. So that's how it starts. Now, if you give them your phone number, they may say, I'm going to send you a 6-digit code just to verify that you are. Google, they might say something like, Google has a service, and they'll send you a 6-digit code. And I want you to let me know what that code is, just to verify that you are who you say you are. But in that case, what they're doing is they're using that code in order that they can register your phone number on Google Voice, and they can pretend to be you and scam other people. So either they're asking for your information so that they can scam other people, or they're asking for an email address, and then you're going to get this email with a link that you need to upgrade your account in order to receive the payment. Either way, it ends up being a bad thing for you. It opens the door for scammers, so you have to be really careful. And one of the things we can do to protect ourselves is, we're just going to have all communications take place on Facebook Marketplace. I'm not going to give you my phone number. I'm not going to give you my email address. And I sure as heck am not going to read back to you any code. That's a for sure sign. Now, we're going to get to the lady that lost $14,000, and it's super easy for this to happen. But before we get there, I want to share with you the flip side of that scam, which is somebody else lists something for sale. And maybe the price is a little too good to be true, and as the old adage goes, if it's too good to be true, maybe it is, and maybe it's a scam. So they'll list something for sale, and then the same thing. They'll ask for a phone number, they'll ask for an email address, and then they'll either use that to pretend to be you or to try to scam you. So we have to be really, really careful. And unfortunately, as we get older, right, our bank account balances get higher, and our mental acuity and our mental sharpness and our knowledge on these new technologies and these new platforms gets less. Now, Facebook Marketplace, I'm using that as an example because we all know it, but there are new technologies. There's a lot of folks that are kind of new to Zelle, and we have to be careful with Zelle because that gives direct access to our bank account. So we need to be super, super careful whether we're selling something or we're responding to somebody that's selling something. Now, I love to buy things secondhand. Oftentimes, you know, if it's something that I want and I know I'll use and I know I'll enjoy, oftentimes you can buy it from somebody else that frankly hasn't used it much at all. And you can save half, you can save 3/4. But we need to be careful because it can also open us up to being scammed. Okay, now how did this woman that I talked about earlier, how did she lose $14,000 on Facebook Marketplace? And what can we do to protect ourselves? Now, in this case, this person was selling a car and everything seemed legitimate. There were a couple warning signs, but even if there's not warning signs, we can protect ourselves. So here's what happened to her. She listed her car for sale. The person said, yes, I'm interested. They met her at a parking lot. They brought a cashier's check with them to buy the vehicle. And then, you know, unfortunately, she went to take that cashier's check to the bank. And the bank said, I'm sorry, it's a fraudulent check. Her car was gone and she's out that $14,000. So what do we do to protect ourselves from something like that? How do we make sure we don't fall victim to a scam like that? There's two main things, and I've never bought in a new car in my life, so I've bought in a lot of used cars. There's two things that I try to do that I think will protect us from a scam like this. Item number one is we can do the transaction at the bank. If somebody says, you know, I'm going to pay for this car by a cashier's check, I'm not going to bring $14,000 cash, I would understand that. But you know what, I'd say, what bank are you bringing that cashier's check from? You know, is it Chase, is it Wells Fargo? You know, what bank is it from? And we're going to meet at that bank. And you're going to give me the check and I'm going to give it, before we leave, before I sign over the title to you, we're going to meet at that bank and do the transaction there, just so that if there's any problem, the bank can alert you to it. Now, it doesn't mean that you couldn't come back later and end up finding out that something went wrong, but I think it minimizes the likelihood of something like that happening. So that's the first thing you can do. The second thing you can do is just say, you know, I'm sorry, I only accept cash. First person that brings me cash, and I understand you don't want to have, in this example, $14,000 of cash. So we're going to meet at a police station, or we're going to meet at a bank, preferably your bank, where you can deposit the money and they can check to make sure that that money is not counterfeit money, right? The other thing that you can do is meeting at the bank for the title transfer. Oftentimes people still owe a loan outstanding on their car. So if you're on the flip side and you're buying a car, you can actually meet at the bank where the title is being held and do everything right at the bank where they're signing over the documents, and the bank will give you a release of the lien that they have. So if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy learning about scams and protecting yourself, I know you're going to enjoy this video up here that also talks about scams, other scams, and how to protect yourselves from them. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in there. Bye-bye.